There are 71 rings in Dark Souls 3, with over 100 if you count the upgraded versions too. This video is going to be long, so just get ready for that. And not only is it going to be long, but obviously I have to make my early disclaimer. This is my opinion first and foremost, and to be honest, there's a lot of rings with a lot of different effects, so I might not get every single detail right. I am honestly trying to think of every single possible benefit and downside too for all of these rings in as many situations as I can, which does include locations and upgraded variants. So please try to be lenient. I am trying my best to get everything, but I still might miss one or two very important aspects. Number 71 is the Calamity Ring. This is one of two rings that gives the player no upsides with a very heavy downside. Plus 100% damage taken means that you will be getting hit much harder. But because it's percentage based, the effects also get stronger the more New Game Plus cycles you do. So I'm sorry, but I don't care how cool you think you look when you're using this. It's bad, and it's also hidden behind two major hiding points, so like, why would you ever want this one? Number 70 is the Skull Ring. So like I said, there's two rings that give big downsides with no upsides. This is one of them. So guess what this ring does? Yep, that one. Yeah, all enemies are easier to aggro to the player. That's pretty much its entire effect. Now that might seem like a pretty meh downside, but you have to remember it has no upsides. It's literally a waste of a ring slot. And to be clear, this is only going to be used in challenge runs or in co-op. And if you're playing co-op in Dark Souls 3, just go play Night Rain. It's just so much better for co-op. Number 69 is the Reversal Ring. This feels like a huge waste of time, even just to code into the game. It gives the player different animations for their characters when they're walking, running, and other movements plus emotes. That's it. Like, there's no upsides, no downsides except for the lack of a ring slot, and a general blandness. Like, you could have made this actually pretty interesting with hidden areas that you can only access when you're either male or female, and that means that this ring would actually have a work, because it's really just allows you to do actions that the character of an opposite gender can do, I guess. Like, what's the point of this ring? Number 68 is the Obscuring Ring. This ring has an exclusively PvP utility, and it can't even work in the arena. For an invader, this ring is actually decently useful, since it allows you to disengage with fights really easily and make the opponent lose lock-on. And guess what it does in PvE? Straight nothing. It does nothing. I'm like, that wouldn't be so egregious though. That would not be the absolute dumpster fire it is if it wasn't also a Covenant item. That's right, you have to grind a Covenant to get a horrible ring with PvP only applications. Sad doesn't even begin to explain my feelings upon this ring. Number 67, the Untrue White Ring. More exclusively PvP benefits. I don't really care enough about this ring to tell you what it does. It's only above the Obscuring Ring because that one is a Covenant reward, while this one is not. You can just buy it. Number 66 is the Untrue Dark Ring. Again, this is PvP benefits that do literally nothing in PvE. Can I move on yet? Number 65, the Ring of Sacrifice. Am I allowed to say get good? I know my gameplay does not reflect anything good about my own skills in this game, because I suck at it, frankly, but I'm gonna say get good, because that is exactly how I feel about this ring. Sure, the utility is pretty nice, and the non-permeability is a great balance for its good utility, but let's be honest, you can sell this thing for 2,000 souls. What else are you gonna use it for? I literally have never seen anybody use it. I sure as heck haven't. Number 64 is the Dragon Scale Ring. So I have a question for you. How many times do you get backstabbed? And if you said anything more than 0 right there, you're either a liar or you're a game journalist. Either way, this ring is still useless. It reduces damage from backstabs to the player, but like, what enemies are backstabbing you? Most of them can crit hit you if, some of them can, but that's not a backstab, that's a critical hit, which this ring just does nothing against. And why would you even waste a ring slot trying to stop it? It's not like it makes you immune, just resistant. And they probably won't kill you unless you're really bad, so I don't know what else to say. Like, it's an endgame ring too, so like, when are you going to use this? Number 63 is the wood grain ring. Yay, more durability. I guess it's good for certain very low durability weapons, but for most weapons, this is a waste of a ring slot. Most weapons are durable enough so that this ring does effectively nothing to help them out. And with that being said, there are a few weapons that kinda need this. I'm talking Moonlight Greatsword, Washing Pole, the Frayed Blade, and maybe a few others that I just don't have off the top of my head. But using this ring on those weapons does make them last longer, which is actually honestly pretty nice. But notice how I mentioned 3 weapons. I literally cannot think off the top of my head any other weapons that would need this ring. 3 weapons! That is a very minor buff to 3 weapons. Personally, I hate this thing, and I think it will be the bane of my existence for as long as this game exists. Number 62 is the Curse Bite ring. Another question for you viewers, how many instances of curse buildup are actually in Dark Souls 3? Now, I have another question, how many of those are actually threatening? If you couldn't think of any, then congratulations, you are correct. There is nothing useful about this ring really, so I'm not really going to spend too much more time on it, especially when you find it in the profaned capital of all places. Now, I will say probably the one area where I would consider using this is in the Ringed City, near all those weird creepy guys in that one basement, but that is like one area. I'm not going to use it anywhere else, just in that one area. Like, that seems like such a waste. And number 61 is the Leo ring. Hold on, please do not kill me. Don't send that pipe bomb to my mailbox just yet. I don't know what this ring does. That's why I put it here. I'm not putting it here because it is bad. I am putting it here because I genuinely cannot get this thing to work, no matter what I do. So, please work with me on this. I am really confused about what this ring does, and I want to ask you guys where I should put it on the list. I'm putting it here for now because I don't want to place it too high because I don't know what it does, but I also don't want to place it too low because I don't know what it does. So please, like, I would love you guys to help me out with this ring, genuinely. If you guys could explain it in a very easy to understand way down in the comments, I would super appreciate that. And also tell me where you think it should be on this list, because I don't know what this ring does. I can't seem to figure it out, and even with other people telling me, it still doesn't make any sense, and I've noticed nothing about it. So I'm sorry if this is the best ring in the game. I'm sorry for being an idiot and not understanding it. Please don't send me a bomb threat. I'm going to move on now. Number 60 is the Silver Cat ring. I want you to name one situation where this is actually useful. No, for real, I want you to name one. I bet you can't. Now, there is no reason to have a slot permanently wasted on this, because believe it or not, most falling distances in Dark Souls 3 are, in fact, lethal. So hot swapping this ring for smaller distances, sure, like, that's fine. But using it permanently is not ever the play. If this thing prevented fall damage, like all fall damage, it would be awesome. And I personally would be a huge fan of it, even if it might break the game a little, but that's besides the point. I would love the heck out of this ring. So I'm sad that it isn't, and I'm sure everyone else is too. Number 59 is the Fleshbite ring. So quite a few resistances, having more of all of them, sounds really nice on paper, but it's actually worse because of that. Having less of everything on resistances is nice and useful in a total of 0 instances, because you will only be facing one status ailment at a time, usually, and even then, curse resistance is still useless. It's still okay if you don't know what to expect, but after your first playthrough, you're just not going to want to use it. Though it is found by a decent point for beginners, so you can't actually use it early game. Now, the key parts of this ring that are good for me is the poison and bleed resistance, because bleed is somewhat common, though not enough to be super prevalent in my opinion, but poison is like super common. You find it in a ton of areas with an entire section being dedicated to it. So, yay, it actually does have some use. I just wish it also had frostbite resistance. That might bring it up even further, but I guess they just didn't want to for some reason. Number 58 is the horse hoof ring. So I'm curious, who uses this ring? What is the targeted demographic for this ring? 40%. That percentage would be crazy on any other build with, like, if you had that on miracles or like sorceries, you would literally nuke every boss enemy in the entire game. And this ring still makes that crazy percentage look sad because it boosts kicking. When would kicking, 40% boost, when would a 40% boost to kicking come in handy? And who even uses kicks enough to warrant a ring to buff it? I can't even find it in my heart to hate this thing. I just feel so disappointed. It's just sad. And I honestly don't want to kill Patches to get it, since I don't even know how to get him to sell it. Honestly, 500 souls is nice if I could freaking buy it. And, if it was actually worth something. Number 57 is the Hawk Ring. This is a bow ring, so that obviously means it's not great. Now, if this was the Night Rainbow, this ring might actually have a lot of use, but this is Dark Souls 3 we are talking about, where bows are basically like they're voodoo. We don't touch bows in this game. We just don't. I don't care if the effect is really good, according to the 3 people that swear by bows, I'm just not going to use it. And it's an end game ring unless you kill the giant. And if you ever have killed him, I want you to know you are an awful human being. And I do not respect you. The ring is bad, okay? It doesn't even boost damage for bows at all, which is like the one thing it needed to do. Number 56, Flynn's Ring. One would think that this ring is good, with a max of 15% damage increase at an astounding 2.5 weight maximum. But unsurprisingly, that actually is really bad. 15% damage sounds excellent on paper, across all damage type, but that fades really fast as soon as you get past that flat 2.4 weight, and that is not a percentage, meaning that it does not get better later into the game. In fact, it really just gets harder to not use anything else. I honestly thought that this was good too, so I had a great laugh at myself once I realized, wait, I'm just not even getting any damage out of this thing. Honestly, I'm just horribly disappointed by this thing. Number 55 is the Wolf Ring. I think the entire point of this ring is a buzzword. Like, I think that's the entire reason anybody would even pick it up. I used it for a while just because it said poise. Like, that sounds great. Saying add poise, like, that's nice, but like, does it actually do anything? Because I don't think it actually works unless you are at certain thresholds. So because of that, you need very specific requirements for this ring to actually help you out in any situation. So that means it doesn't do much for most builds in the game. Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that completely. Number 54 is Lloyd's Shield Ring. I honestly don't know the point of this ring. 20% off of one strike is pretty bad, to say the least. I mean, like, I guess a tank build could use it, but I genuinely find that hard to believe over other options, like Steel Plate Ring or the Stone Plate Rings. So, sure, it is useful in some situations, but I don't think I'm going to be using it. Number 53, the Karthus Milk Ring. So, I actually have a question for my PvP players out there. Does the obscuring your role effect actually do anything? Not even just in PvP, by the way, like in PvE, does it do anything? For PvP, I think it might do a little, but I think it's not great otherwise, especially in PvE, because its real utility is 3 dexterity. Yeah, 3 dex. That's like 2 damage points, 3, maybe like 5 if you're using an S scaling weapon or something, but like, that's just not good. Number 52 is the Sun Princess ring. The HP regen ring, giving a whole 2 HP per second. If that sounds underwhelming, that's because it is. However, it is meant to be very underwhelming. Using this ring is basically meaning that you're going to be a regen build. Pair it with some good blessed weapons and the Ancient Dragon Great Shield, and you actually have a really good flat regen build. Now, I'm going to be honest, it's not a ring that most people are going to use otherwise, even if you're a very methodical fighter who takes a long time during fights. And it doesn't even have like a +1, +2, or +3 variant. Like, genuinely, it would have been way too strong if it did, but at least it would have had a really good place in everybody's inventory. Number 51 is the Ring of Evil Eye. This gets up to a +3, and let me tell you, that is actually really necessary. This thing can stack with other items like Arstor's Spear, but the HP regen is a flat amount from 30 to 37, meaning that it's going to get worse and worse over time, even at that +3 variant. I don't want to hear arguments for or against this ring, because even at a +3, it doesn't compare to just about any other ring like the Sun Princess ring. Plus, you get it at mid-game, and it's already pretty useless by then. Now, what I just said about it being comparative to the Sun Princess ring, yeah, that it definitely is comparative, but I actually would place this one higher for a few reasons. First things first, the Sun Princess ring is a regen over time, and it does take a while, meaning in fights with a lot of enemies or anywhere where you're trying to move quickly, you might not regen a lot or do much with it. But in fights against a lot of smaller enemies, I'm thinking places like Undead Settlement, Karthus Catacombs, having a flat HP gain when you kill an enemy is actually pretty good. Primarily because there's so many weak enemies that die really easily, and stacking it is obviously awesome. Doing all of that basically just means that I would personally prefer Ring of Evil Eye, since if I'm killing an enemy, I'm gaining a lot of HP. That means that I can just explore those dungeons and kill enemies rather than having to wait long periods of time to regen all my HP. That feels pretty boring to me, and that's why I put this one higher. Now, I am gonna admit, you can also just stack the two to have a busted build, so somebody try that please. I think that would be really funny. Number 50 is the Speckled Stoneplate Ring. This is the exact same concept as the Fleshbite ring, but with the Stoneplate rings instead. And for that, it's pretty clear to say that it's not perfect. This only gives a paltry 7% extra defense against all the elements with the +1 variant. And that is especially bad when you consider most bosses only are dealing one type of elemental damage. I actually don't think that there's a single boss or even area that uses more than 2 elemental damage types either. Using this ring is just not the move. I'm just being honest there, it's not. 7% is actually really bad when you consider that the Stoneplate rings get a massive 20% reduction against one type of elemental damage with their +2 variants. Genuinely, who would use this ring? Number 49 is Pontiff's Left Eye. Compared to Pontiff's Right Eye, this is sad. However, it's actually a pretty decent healing ring. It doesn't scale with max HP, meaning it does get worse and worse the more New Game Plus cycles you go through. Plus 30 HP is not great to start, even if the effect is pretty easy to proc. However, it is really early game, and it does fall off late game, and that sucks obviously, but having it early game means that this is one of the earliest healing rings that you can possibly get. For low HP builds with fast attacks, this can actually be a godsend. But on most builds with good HP, no, this probably is not going to be your best ring. Though, as I previously mentioned, you do get it earlier, so it does actually have some use there. I also think that you could make an excellent build by pairing this with Arstor's Spear, Ring of Evil Eye, Sun Princess Ring, and Ancient Dragon Great Shield. Plus, if you're using pyromancies that regen your HP, you could have one of the strongest no Estus builds in the game. I would love to see somebody actually try that out. I don't know how the heck it would actually work, or if it even would work as well as I'm thinking it does, but at that point, you're pretty much getting HP no matter what you're doing. And during boss fights, if they have ads, that's free HP. If they don't, that's free HP. If they have slow movesets, free HP. No matter what, if you're combining this ring right, like you could have HP builds that literally could make you pretty much like Hikari from JJK. They're invincible. Number 48 is Havel's ring. Okay, I know a lot of people love this ring. I actually do like this ring quite a bit, but only in certain situations, and that's why I don't think it's that good. The +3 variant gives a 4% advantage to your equipment load over the original, and that is really bad. Like, really, really bad. Especially considering the original gives a 15% boost, which honestly should be all you need. Now, this ring might be useful on a big old tank build, and it does get stronger with more vitality, but who really needs this ring when you have a lot of vitality already? The Ring of Favor especially already has a equip load buff that doesn't fall into the soft cap hell, and even if its bonus is way smaller, it does have other bonuses too. So I don't know. The Havel's ring, it has plus variants that just don't do enough, and its niche is, in my opinion, pretty limited, so I just don't think it's super high on the list. That being said, it can definitely be useful. I'm not doubting that. Number 47 is the blue Tearstone ring. So this is actually one of the earliest rings you can pick up. In fact, I think it's like the earliest if you don't pick certain classes or don't start out with a ring. I believe this is the earliest one you can get. So that's pretty nice. In reality, this ring is actually best used later game when you have a large HP pool, since it actually uses 20% of your max HP to get the effect. But at that point, I personally believe that you have a lot of better rings, and 20% HP is not a lot. Even with the resistance, you will most likely get one shot by enemies in New Game Plus cycles, even if you have large HP pools. So I'm kind of sorry, but I'm also not. I will say, as just one olive branch to you blue Tearstone lovers, you do have the red Tearstone ring and Morion blade, meaning that this might be absolutely necessary if you're running a build where you're trying purposefully to have low HP. That being said, I'm not good enough to do that, so I'll leave that to you guys, and I'm going to be putting it here on the list. Number 46, the Night Slayer's ring. I think that this ring is just tank repellent. I really think that this one is meant for PvP as well rather than PvE, but even so, it actually still has enough utility in PvE to make me respect it a little. Sure, its niche is pretty, well, niche, but that anti-shield power is deceptively strong against certain foes. I'm thinking certain Silver Knights and Cathedral Knights. Even so, it still isn't strong enough compared to a lot of the other rings to make me consider it very high on this list. And I don't care about PvP. I'm going to be completely real. PvP is great. I love you PvPers out there for telling me stuff, but I don't think that this is even that good there either. Number 45 is Aldrich's Sapphire. For early game intelligence crit builds, this is actually a really good ring. However, it does get worse the longer you go on in the game. And 15.8 FP is not a great amount either. It's pretty much just one basic spell to use. And I'm guessing that's like 300 damage max. Either way, it's not great, even if it's good for skills. And then again, if you're using this, you're most likely an early game crit build. So I don't think skills are going to be what you're looking for. But if it is, I guess this is actually a pretty decent one. Number 44 is the Prisoner's Chain. This is a late game ring that is way better for early game builds. That sounds horrible, and it is in some cases. I don't really understand why they decided to place this ring so late, but to be honest, there are a lot of things I can also praise about it. 4% damage reduction is not bad at all, especially considering that you're getting +5 vigor, endurance, and vitality. Now, that is really bad at higher soft caps, especially at soft caps. Once you hit soft caps, that becomes pretty much useless, like completely useless. And since most players will find it late into the game, your vigor, endurance, and vitality should be hitting soft caps, making this ring actually way weaker. Now, if you can somehow get it early, I do applaud you, because it's really strong early game, but in my opinion, it can't beat other rings later in the game. Number 43 is the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring. This ring is the stealth builder's wet dream. That is this ring. If you want free crits, you're also going to want to choose this ring, because for crit builds, it's a decent option. Paired with the Hornet Ring and the Dagger or Rapier, that's just utterly deplorable. But for stealth builds, this is downright necessary. There are just no other stealth tools in the game that can actually do anything similar to what this ring does. So for a stealth build, rejoice. This thing is a godsend. But for everyone else, you can just walk right on past it. Number 42 is the Knight's Ring. Plus 5 strength. That is the entire purpose of this ring, is to give you plus 5 strength. And let's be honest, that's just there to fill requirements on weapons and test them out. Other than that, it is really useless. It's just not worth a ring slot, especially to keep permanently. Plus, finding it in Lothric Castle is just plain annoying, since by then you will most likely have enough souls to invest in a few other levels. And I mean, strength is also pretty necessary for just about every build, so, you know, I personally would not consider it that important, especially to reach weapon requirements. Number 41 is the Hunter's Ring. Similar to the Knight's Ring, this thing is meant to fill requirements, and it's pretty bland other than that. Now, the real problem that I have with this ring is the fact that you find this one really late into the Grand Archives. This is probably the last ring you'll find out of the bunch. So, guess what? You're going to have to enjoy not being able to test out that really cool frayed blade until you get there. But for some of you wondering why this is above the Knight's Ring, it's because you are more likely to invest in strength than dex, at least in my experience, meaning an extra dex boost is pretty nice for hitting requirements for weapon testing. However, intelligence and faith are even less common, so they're going to have to go higher. At number 40, we have the Scholar Ring. Plus 5 intelligence. Cool, it's literally just like the others. I mean, once again, it's a requirement ring, and you find it late game as well, which makes it significantly less useful. Intelligence is, in my opinion, more common than faith builds in Dark Souls 3, meaning that I actually believe that you're going to invest in intelligence at one point or another, and so because of that, I'm putting it here, right below faith. Number 39 is the Priestess Ring. So 5 faith is an okay amount, I guess. I'm not quite sure, since it feels weak. Miracles also have very little damage options, even if the ones it has can be considered atomic bombs. But it's mostly buffs and healing, or dark miracles and pyromancy. So sure, faith is great, and 5 extra faith hits requirements, but it's just not useful this late into the game for anything other than build testing. Number 39 is the Dusk Crown Ring. Not bad. I mean, I don't really know how I feel about this ring. It is efficiency's best friend, first and foremost, and a 25% reduction for FP cost is actually really good, especially on big spells. So there's that, I guess. However, getting later in the game with higher vigor also makes the debuff way worse. If you have 1000 HP, no, you don't. With this ring, it's 850. A 15% decrease in max HP does not sound bad until you actually see it on paper, because holy, it sucks. That being said, for most spell builds, it just doesn't matter too much, since you're most likely going to be far away from fights with ranged power, meaning hopefully you're going to be taking a lot less damage. Then again, you will still get those heavy penalties, so I can't recommend it to anything but a pure caster build obsessed with efficiency. Number 37 is the Red Tearstone Ring. I don't really know where I should put this ring on this list. 20% extra damage is no small number to scoff at after all, but it requires genuine skill to even stay in that range without getting one-shot, especially later in New Game Plus cycles. And if you thought it was just done after that, congrats, like it even stacks with the Morian Blade. So sure, this thing is nowhere near perfect, but it's okay. Even so, I can't justify putting it any higher because of its gimmick. Number 36 is the Lightning Clutch Ring. Unfortunately, the amount of lightning-based attacks in this game is limited, especially so at range. So that means that this is most likely going to be used on a weapon skill, like Falling Bolt or Lightning Charged or an infused weapon. And unfortunately, that means you will most likely be in melee range, which means you are more likely to take damage. And yes, that 10% defense downgrade sucks. Even the lightning spells are actually best used up close, since they have a second hitbox right in front of the player when used. So in reality, this ring will make you feel the effects of the 10% decreased. Even though lightning is an excellent damage type, you don't really need this to make it great, and that also means I don't think it's as good as the other clutch rings. Number 35 is the Fire Clutch ring. Fire is abundant and strong, and Dark Souls 3 is definitely no exception to that. And fire spells are already super dang strong. Even the weapons with fire damage are really good. But I honestly don't think that this ring is actually that great, primarily because of fire spells, which in my experience are actually best used up close and in between weapon strikes to hit a slightly out of range opponent. Fire is freaking strong, but that 10% damage reduction starts feeling really bad at close ranges, and you don't need a, super big buff to that damage when it's already doing enough. Number 34 is Aldrich's Ruby. So for most crit builds, this is the better Aldrich ring to use. However, it once again gives a flat amount of HP, so obviously it gets worse later in the game. Now, don't get me wrong, that is a good amount of HP, but it is clearly an early game option for crit builds rather than a late game powerhouse. Man, I can only say good early, bad late so many times, dude. My voice is getting hoarse. Number 33, Deep Ring. Do you need more spell slots? This is the ring to help with that. I honestly don't know why you would take this over most others though, especially with plenty of damage boosting and FP efficiency rings for spell builds. And having too many spell slots sucks too, since having too many spells can make cycling a headache. This is best as an early game spellcaster's ring before hitting higher attunement. After that, it's pretty useless. Number 32, it's the Saint's Ring. Need more spell slots? This is the ring to help with that. I don't know why you would take this over most others though, especially with, this is the exact same ring as the previous one, only you get it earlier. Alright, well, next ring I guess. Number 31 is the Ashen Estus Ring. The normal Estus Ring is one of the best in the game. By comparison, this ring feels uninteresting and generally useless, but it honestly isn't the ring's fault. It gives the same 20% boost to Ashen Flasks that the Estus Ring gives to your normal flasks, but your HP is so abundant that 20% is a really needed amount in that case. Your FP, on the other hand, will not need 20% extra, even with very high attunement. At a plus 10 flask, you will have all the Ashen Estus you could need, so unfortunately there is not a ton of use for this. And you find it in a hidden area late game, so sorry not sorry, but it is not that great. Number 30 is the Dark Moon Ring. Plus 2 spell slots is quite nice, until you realize that it is on a Covenant Ring. Ew, just ew. Sure, two spell slots are great early game, but you will not get this until late game due to oppressive farming. Now, it's still a good late game ring because you have multi-slot spells, but it isn't as useful as it is in early game. And I would prefer to use this on something actually buffing my spells rather than just more spells to cycle through. And let's be honest, the real thing, the real reason why we all know about this ring is because we all know the old saying, how long were you on the staircase? Number 29, the Bloodbite Ring. Bleed is less abundant than poison, but it is found in more areas. I personally find this ring to be only okay. The Poison Bite ring is truly one of the best of the bunch, but I want it to be known that this one is no slouch, especially if you're having trouble with certain enemies or those freaking maggot guys. I hate those things. Number 28, it's the Dark Clutch Ring. Dark damage is one of the strongest damage types in Dark Souls 3, primarily because of its anti-night properties, and this ring slaps it with a 15% bonus to damage and takes away 10% of your physical damage negations to do so. And you know what? It really does not matter that much. Dark damage spells include Great Deep Soul, Dory's Gnawing, Black Fire Orb, Great Soul Dregs, and Dark Edge. Those spells without this buff are pretty freaking oppressive. So this buff, giving it a downright magnanimous 15% damage bonus while only sacrificing 10% of your physical absorption, is an absolute steal. Let's be real. And there are dark spells in every category. So congrats, you just got a hell of a lot of damage for literally every magic category. Number 27, the Magic Clutch Ring. Magic is meant to be high damage from the get-go, and this ring just adds 15% extra damage on top of that sundae, even if magic is not great against a lot of enemies. But best of all, magic is used at range. Sure, there are some melee spells in the sorcery arsenal, but at that point, just don't use the ring. This is meant to squeeze all the damage you can out of Crystal Soul Spear and Soul Stream. It doesn't have time for your weak crap. Efficiency? Who needs it when my enemy gets hit with the medieval equivalent of an atomic railgun? It's not perfect, but this ring and sorceries, strong as hell. Number 26 is the Chill Bite Ring. I think that this is the only unique DLC ring there is, so that is something other than an upgraded variant of another ring. So props to this ring for that. And honestly, it couldn't come too soon, because there is an entire DLC themed around ice with frostbite trees of death and happiness that definitely didn't cause me to hit my head and get a concussion at a jump scare. And they're women? Like, you literally can't make anything scarier, dude. Get me out of there. Number 25 is the Life Ring. This is one of the earliest rings you can get, since you can actually choose this as part of your starting equipment. So, yay, it's useful no matter what, really. I don't have a ton of downsides. In addition, this ring only gets better with more vigor, since it's actually a percentage based. And that means it's only going to get more useful and helpful with the more New Game Plus cycles you go through. And the Plus 3 edition, honestly, 5% was bad, so seeing decent 10% extra HP is excellent. Only problem with it is that it's not a DLC ring, meaning you can't get the Plus 3 variant until New Game Plus 2. But in any case, it's a good ring. There's just no downsides. Number 24 is the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring. This ring's normal version gives a solid 30% bonus of uptime for buffs. That is really its only utility, which, by the way, is freaking stupid. Sure, it can buff any type of magic like miracles and pyromancies in addition to sorceries, but in reality, it isn't even that good. It only works on buffs, such as Magic Armament, Great Magic Barrier, and Sacred Oath. I mean, that's pretty good, right? I mean, extra buff time is pretty nice no matter what. Unfortunately, this is still a wasted opportunity, because it does not, I repeat, does not work on any weapon skills, even the ones that give buffs. What is that? You want a Miracle Sunlight Oath? Yeah, that works great. The weapon skill Oath of Sunlight? No, that's too weird. What is that logic? It is still a really good buffing ring, but not boosting weapon skills sucks. Also, it doesn't boost like offensive spells like Poison Mist or Pestilent Mist, which is just kind of odd. And it also doesn't buff the duration of Bountiful Sunlight, so it's not even good for regen builds. I don't know, it has some good power, but its lack of buffable buffs and stuff makes it a frustrating addition to my arsenal, especially when there are so many other damage buff rings like that make like 30% extra uptime for a buff, like somewhat unnecessary. Number 23 is the Ring of Favor. I actually originally adored this ring, like many people do, but now I've kind of grown to just think it's only okay. At least that's what most people would say. Sure, it is still mid, but it is useful at higher levels when soft caps get oppressive, and it's actually really good at low levels when your HP, stamina, and vitality are minuscule. It really falls off in the mid game, when you aren't yet hitting soft caps and a simple upgrade gets more HP added than the amount of charges at Diddy's trial. Other than that, it's a pretty decent ring. Number 22 is the Poison Bite ring. This ring is actually the best of the bunch, all because of the infamous Poison Swamp. Let's go! Other than that, it is useless. I'm sorry. I guess you can imitate the boss's resistances to status now. So go have fun with the total of freaking 0 bosses that inflict poison buildup. Also, I'm sorry if you would thought this would be useful against Toxic. It just isn't. Number 21, the Karthus Blood Ring. This ring, from a game design perspective, is actually really well done. Getting more iframes on a dodge is really great, and sure, taking more damage seems awful, but if you were going to take damage, why wear the ring that just makes it easier to just not? Genuinely, this ring single-handedly makes the Nameless King a joke, even with his bonkers delays and timings. However, on the off chance you are hit, which should be rare, 30% is an oppressive amount of damage. So getting hit in new game cycles is pretty much instant death, even with the steel plate ring and heavy armor. Number 20 is Morn's Ring. Only buffing the damage that miracles do is honestly sad. If this ring could also buff the healing or buffs from miracles, this would be at the top, no questions asked. And a 12% bonus is still awesome for damage spells, with a few different buffs to lightning spears, stakes, arrows, storms, and the like. I mean, divine pillars, so you're getting an extra 12% boost. Frisbee and like of death, yeah, 12% extra boost. It also even works on like dark miracles, so Dory's Gnawing, Life Hunt Scythe, Dead Again, all get 12% boost. And some of those miracles are actually really strong, but since this is a category of magic mainly focused on healing, which is not buffed by this ring, I don't feel like this ring does enough for this category to be put too much higher. Number 19, the Great Swamp Ring. Tell me a ring is BS without telling me it's BS. 12% extra damage to all pyromancy? Yeah, that's BS. Like, I'm sorry, that is so strong. Pyromancy may not be damage focused all the time, but when it is, it just eats. And it's super efficient too. So genuinely, screw you, FromSoft, for giving us this ring and making it so dang good. I would still say the sorcery one is a little better simply because it's better at range, and this one is better for mid-range, but both are top freaking tier. And speaking of sorcery, number 18, the Young Dragon Ring. Sorcery is already focused so hard on damage that these rings just make sorcery unfair. This is the reason why, by the way, magic damage is like, you know, not like, this is the reason why sorcery damage has a lot of enemies resistant to it, is because you have so many buffing tools. Like, literally, a 12% boost that is meant to just buff the hell out of a what magic category already meant for damage. That's nutty. Slap on like the better version of this and the magic clutch ring and the dust crown, and you're gonna be just one of the most rightfully reviled human beings on the planet, because you're just too strong. I don't make the rules. I'm sorry. Number 17, the Thunder Stoneplate Ring. Is the Nameless King giving you a hard time? Silver Knight's just that annoying. Sullivan's Beasts causing the most horrific war crimes of the 21st century? This ring can help, at least like 20% help. 20% extra negation against lightning, or any element for that matter, is almost unfair, since it obviously stacks with armor and the sword. Lightning also may be one of the most uncommon damage types in Dark Souls 3, but sometimes a little lightning negation can just help out just enough. Number 16, the Dark Stoneplate Ring. Dark Eater Midir never got nerfed so hard. That's a 20% nerf. That's really all I care about with this ring. There aren't a ton of enemies who actually do dark damage in this game, and even considering some of them, like High Lord Wolnir and the Deacons, it's clear that they aren't all demigod adjacent powerhouses. Like, Midir, Freed, and even Gale are demigod level threats that this ring helps against, but every other enemy, it's not that bad. Number 15 is the Magic Stoneplate Ring. The magic in this game is really annoying. It's definitely not everywhere, but it is really frustrating no matter where it is. The Dancer, Sister Free, the Pontiff, Osiris, Lothric, like the Soul of Cinder himself, even the Locust dudes in the Ring City can use magic. And this ring helps out in all these situations with 120% efficiency at a +2. Genuinely, that is a crazy number. Like getting 20% damage negation. That is insane. And for some of those annoying pests, that will feel like a nice lotion soothing the skin. This video is sponsored by number 14, the Flame Stoneplate Ring. Soul of Cinder, Demon Clerics, Fire Witches, the Lords of Cinder, Smoldering Gurus, Ringed Knights, Grave Wardens, Dragons, Waverns, Dark Eater Madeir, Sister Freed, and Father Arendelle, the Dancer of Boreal Valley, and the Demons. If you want to be the best of the best, if you want to be up 20% resistant to all of those guys, this is the ring for you. It even works on Madeir's Breath. And let me tell you, that is freaking necessary, like, in every single situation. The most common damage type in the game, unsurprisingly, needs a ring to block it all out. And you get this one really early, so have fun having straight up, like, survival power right out the gate. Number 13, Ring of the Sun's Firstborn. Morn's Ring, but better. It also stacks with Morn's Ring. 20% damage boosts are actually nuts, like clinically insane. 20% damage on miracles is still crazy, even if the category is more focused on buffing and healing instead of nuts damage. But obviously this ring is better than Morn's, and the inability to buff healing output of miracles just still confuses me to this day. Honestly, it's annoying that this effect wasn't an idea that they implemented with this ring, because straight up that would be so nice. Well, I guess it would be really strong, but whatever. On the right build with Morn's Ring and a powerful Catalyst, you can become a demigod, or the Pope, whichever you want, really. Number 12, the Witch's Ring. If the Great Swamp Ring just wasn't enough, this ring will be. You're getting 20% damage just like the other of its ilk, already boosting the unfair power of pyromancy spells. And you're stacking this thing with other options like Fire Clutch Ring and the Great Swamp Ring. I think that is considered psychological warfare with the way my mental state deteriorates to throw fireball fire. Number 11 is the Billowing Dragon Crest Ring. Young dragon ring, but old, I guess. Either way, the 20% more damage with with sorceries. Like, what else do I have to say? Like, that's something you hear out of a wet dream. Seriously, on the min-maxed sorceries, which are, they are something, the power this strong is seen in stuff like One Punch Man, not the funny, hard RPG game with the fattest beings to ever exist. And now we finally get into the top 10. And I'm gonna admit, this is probably the most controversial area of the entire list. So, don't kill me, please. Number 10 is the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring. Yeah, you know that entire disclaimer I said like 2 seconds ago? That's because this ring is in the top 10. So please, nope, I see you I see you taking out the knife. Don't do it, please, I beg of you. I have a family. Please, I'll give you V-Bucks. I'll give you V-Bucks. Anyways, Covenant farming. So, if you hate to farm Covenants, this is going to be your new best friend. If you're farming for Covenant items, like, just give up. Get this ring. It'll be okay. So, if you're also farming for, like, a rare weapon, let's say, what are those guys? The Black Knights. Black Knight weapons, you know, like, one of the coolest weapons sets in the entire game. But you just can't get them. Yeah, congrats, you have this new ring. Looking to collect every single miracle in the game, this is practically necessary. So this thing is right alongside its sister ring for being one of the best farming utilities there is, which is only boosted by its utility to like stack with other items. So, all in all, if you're looking for new weapons, new items, new anything, new newts, you got it. This is your ring. Number 9, the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring. You knew that this ring was going to be up here, because this is the farming ring. You're getting multiple variants, +3, given a solid 35% soul bonus that stacks with similar items, and can be grabbed, like, in new game. That is crazy. Seriously, it's just a great utility for leveling up and getting stronger to an insane degree. And with the right farming spot and items, this easily is just a level per enemy you kill. Straight up. Oh my gosh. This ring is just the cornerstone for late game, like new game plus 15 playthroughs or whatever. Like, you need this. Number 8 is the Farron ring. Weapon skills getting an FP discount sounds mediocre at first, but if you really think about it, it's actually a really good utility. Weapon skills in Dark Souls 3 are used all the time and in all different shapes and forms. FP off the top? Yes, please. You're getting more efficiency, being able to use skills more, and not needing to allocate as many flasks to, like, you know, the blue kind. Like, I don't want my blue Gatorade, I want that orange stuff, you know what I mean? Okay, maybe not Gatorade, because blue Gatorade tastes great, but you know what I mean. Like, for a skill build, you also are probably going to be moving up close, meaning you're going to want those HP flasks. But once again, this is a skill build, you might have to use a lot of FP, meaning you might have to allocate those. This pretty much invalidates that. You're going to have to use way less of your flasks to giving you more FP, and you can instead just focus on hitting that guy in the head really, really hard. And for a build reliant on skills, this is pretty much necessary. And for a build who wants to throw themselves at a wall like a chimpanzee on crack, this is also awesome. I love this ring, personally. That's why I put it up here, is because I just love this ring to death. I use it so much, and I don't care if it seems meh. It's good. Number 7 is the Hornet ring. The day this ring appeared in the game, critical hit builds everywhere nutted their freaking pants. This is 30% damage increase to critical hits, which are already boosted by 1 daggers, which can get up to another 30% boost, and they already do way more damage than a normal strike. This literally makes anything that gets hit with a critical hit by you invalidated. Critical hits, as I previously mentioned, already deal insane damage. 30% added on to that, beyond nuclear. For a critical hit build, this is necessary and the most powerful tool in your arsenal. Add on its utility to stack with daggers and rapiers with their insane crit modifiers, and you can have one of the strongest builds in the entire game. It even pairs super well with the Aldrich rings and the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring, so a crit build is genuinely really plausible when you have the Hornet ring. There are no real downsides to just going and getting this one, so I'm gonna move on. Number 6, the Sage ring. This ring is one of the most powerful utilities any ring can give in the game for magic builds. For those of you who don't know, dexterity actually makes spell casting faster. Much faster. This ring gives a flat 30 virtual dexterity to a caster build. Virtual dexterity, by the way, means it only affects casting speed, not actually your dex stat. So for any dex build with lower dexterity, this is not, this does not matter. But virtual dexterity, if you're a caster, oh boy, you want that stuff. So it also does still have soft caps. I'll be honest. That's probably one of the few downsides, is that you will still have soft caps for virtual dexterity. However, the Sage's ring does not care about any of that, because no matter what, it will just max it out. So yeah, that's just great. More spells means more damage and more fun. If you need a full explanation on this ring, I'll make another video on it eventually. If you really want that, you can just put it in the comments, but I cannot stress it enough. This ring is so good. Number 5, Pontiff's Right Eye. This ring is slept on from what I've seen, and especially so on the right build with a fast weapon. This ring works best on daggers, short swords, some axes, paired weapons, and multi-hits. If you have literally any of those in your weapon, this ring will be the strongest buff imaginable. Literally, it would be. Once you get this buff, it gives a paltry 3% attack increase. You don't even care about that. It is garbage at first, but it gains even more power. It's not just that 3%. No. The more times you hit that enemy, the higher it goes. It goes up to 5%, eventually maxing out at 11% extra damage. There is no real way to tell you're actually hitting that hard, but you are. I can assure you. If you stay at full HP and use the Cell Sword Twin Blades with Lloyd's Sword Ring, you will trivialize the game if you have this thing equipped as well. I'm sorry, this ring is just so underrated. Number 4, Lloyd's Sword Ring. Obviously, this ring was going to be in the top 10. Like, where else? The funny damage buff ring of any build on Reddit. Sure, you may have to be at full health, but this thing works wonders on builds with hammers or slow weapons that don't work well with Pontiff's right eye. Spellcasting, extra damage. Beefed up hammer, extra damage. This does deserve a good spot, even if staying at full health is unreasonable on some builds. Number 3 is the Ring of Steel Protection. This ring just becomes more necessary the more New Game Plus cycles you go through. This is a tank build's dream, a powerhouse's first love. Trading, you don't trade damage with this. You just deal damage. This ring enables tank builds to be oppressive, normal builds to survive hitting from New Game Plus 5, and your enemies to go to therapy. This ring is the best ring for survivability in the game, so excuse me for putting it here. Number 2 is the Estus ring. This ring is the best for New Game Plus cycles, since you will be needing more healing with bigger HP bars to fill and larger damage to take that HP away. Its only downside, unfortunately, is its lack of +1 or 2 variants. However, it doesn't freaking need it. 20% extra HP restoration at a max flask restore is just honestly insane, and it doesn't even need to be a maxed out flask in order to get those insane results. Look up other people's opinions on this thing. No one says, yeah, it's too weak. If anything, they say it's overpowered. Because it is. And number 1 is the Chloranthy ring. This is, if not the best ring, at least one of the best in the game, no questions asked. And if you need to know why, it's because stamina regen is unfairly strong. In addition to its normal variant giving a very small boost, you can get up to a +3 variant from the Ring City, giving not just a +3 ring in new game, but also giving a 10 stamina per second bonus that is downright maddening. I genuinely cannot play this game anymore without at least the normal variation of this ring, because the stamina regen has made me a baby for it. Like I can't even explain it. It's just, it makes me go insane when I don't have it on. There is no joke here either. Like, that is a genuine remark. I actually have difficulty playing this game without this ring on. Anytime I start a new run, I find myself having that hard time without this ring to help out. So, you know, it has to go here. And if you want like some offensive ability, you have more attacks, faster recovery, better everything. Even casters need this thing because you're using stamina to cast things. More rolling, quicker rolling, like you have it all with just one ring slot. So, excuse me, I'm sorry. It is number 1. There is no freaking doubt about it. Rings are so difficult to rank because each has different effects that are hard to power scale against each other. So, once again, this list is extremely subjective and completely depends on my own opinion of these rings. And to be honest, I totally feel like you could move stuff around and I would still heavily agree. Like the Leo ring, which, once again, I'm begging you, do not pipe on my mailbox for that. I need your help, please, 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 please. Anyways, enough about pipe bombing my mailbox. I just want to say thank you all for watching this long as hell video. And as always, happy hunting.